Hello, this is ModelOmega, and welcome back to my Newcomer's Guide to Thracia 776. Here, Chapter 3. This is the first really complex chapter 776 puts at you, and it is an extremely important one in context of what is to come, so pay quite close attention to what I suggest here. But first, let's meet the new units we recruited at the end of the previous chapter. This bastard is your first thief, and that's all he really has going for him. Lifis' stats are terrible, and his awful luck makes him surprisingly susceptible to critical hits. He also has a PCC of 0, meaning even if you get his stats up super high, he'll never amount to anything in combat. But he is still a thief, and he is better at doing that than the second one you'll get, so make good use of him. Safie is easily one of the most vital, important, and necessary members of the entire game, despite the fact that you'll probably never promote her, never have her see combat, and never bring her to endgame. Reason being is that Safie is your first staff user, and almost assuredly your first user to get the all-important A rank in staffs, letting her use Warp. That's it though, don't hold back, use those staffs, make sure she gets an A rank before chapter 12X. It makes that chapter, and chapter 14, much more manageable. Safie also brings with her the Repair Staff. This is 776's iteration of the Hamern, and just like every other version, it restores an item to full uses. It's exclusive to Safie though, so only she can use it. I'll go into detail later about what items this is appropriate to use on, but for now, just keep it intact, as you're probably going to have to use it ironically later to repair other staffs. Strangely, Safie has a pretty high strength growth for a cleric, so don't be alarmed if strength ends up as one of her highest stats. Now then, back to the chapter. As stated by Leif in August, there are 4 children held in the fort that need to be returned to the 4 houses at the start. Approaching the fort is no big task. By now you should be pretty good at the routine of capturing or taking out the basic soldiers and archers they throw at you. But now you encounter magic for the first time. The fire mage is really no big concern. In fact, Lifis has enough base build to just steal his tome, so you can do that to instantly neutralize him. He can also do this with thunder and wind tomes when you encounter them, as they are all light enough for his base build to seize. Lifis is also invaluable in stealing enemy vulneries. Take advantage of that whenever possible. By the by, Lifis had in his initial inventory the first of the 12 Crusader Scrolls of the game, the Eyvel Scroll. It provides a plus 30% HP growth and a plus 10% strength growth, but subtracts 10% from the holder's luck growth. It's best to have Leif hold on to it for now, as he'll need the extra stats, but also give Lifis a sword as he doesn't start with any weapons. Finn won't be able to enter the fort unless he dismounts, but he's much more helpful outside to deal with the eventual reinforcements. The inside of the fort is a bit more difficult to fight in because of the enclosed space, but the enemies are all the same, and as long as you have the left pathway blocked you can open the cell where the children are and start to rescue them. Though they can't move, so you have to physically rescue them and then take them to their homes. Have Havon give Dagda the Brave Axe and send him along with someone to open the door to the right. If not Lifis, then Eyvel or Tanya both start with door keys in their inventories for exactly this case. Place Havon and Othen so they can take care of the enemies to the west, while using your remaining units to rescue the children, but keep Safie free so she can heal if necessary. Once you have lured the soldiers to the west with Othen and Havon, send Dagda to capture the bishop with the Brave Axe. The bishop is a priority target. On turn 10 he will attempt to get into the chest room and retrieve inside a meteor tome. You should ideally deal with him before that, and definitely capture him for the chest keys he has, as they will be extremely helpful in the chapters to come. Dagda using the Brave Axe can do this no problem, so it's what I recommend. Now, as for the children, they go to the following houses. Corporal goes to the top right house, and by returning him, he will be able to give you a warp staff at the end of chapter 7. This is easily the hugest item you'll get in this chapter, so especially do this. Romeo goes to the top left, where you will get another stat booster, the shield ring, which boosts defense by 2 points. Eyvel goes to the bottom right, which allows you to recruit Dalshin in the next chapter. Lucia goes to the bottom left, which gets you the Baldo Scroll, the second of the Crusader Scrolls that gives the holder an extra 5% growth to HP, Strength, Skill, Speed, Luck, and Defense. Again, probably have Leif hold on to this, but always trade around your scrolls when someone's about to get a level up. The extra percentage always helps. Don't dilly-dally on returning the children. From turn 10 to 16, pairs of Brigance will spawn in the bottom left that will attempt to burn the houses, and most of the time they'll just walk right by your unit, so don't think you can just block them off. So before entering the fort, leave behind some reliable fighters to deal with them. For me, that's usually Finn and Eyvel. or you can block the Brigance from arriving by placing units on their spawn tiles. Needless to say, if any of the children somehow die, or a house gets burned down, you really should just restart the chapter because those are all vital rewards. Besides that, proceed normally towards the fort. However, remember, if Finn must enter, he will need to dismount first, but he is really just better off staying outside with Eyvel. When it comes to the boss, here I managed to take him out with Othin's Pooji, but that was because I just wanted to finish this chapter as quickly as I could. A more practical strategy would be to use Dagda's hammer or Eyvel's fire sword. From turn 12 to 17, sword armors will spawn to the right of the chest room door, and soldiers on turns 14 to 16 on the left door. If you need extra time, just place any unit on those spots and they will block them from spawning. Aside from the meteor tome inside the chest room, the other treasure is an armor slayer. It's not too useful now as only Eyvel and maybe Leif can use it as it's a B rank sword, but it will be invaluable later. Now comes the really important part, inventory management. The next chapter will remove every party member but Leif and Lifis, so plan inventories accordingly. 13 of the 14 items Leif and Lifis bring with them into the next chapter will be stored randomly in chests. Note that if you bring a full 14 of the 14 possible items they can carry, a random item will be deleted, so make sure that you only have 13 and not any more. Items you should try to bring are, in decreasing order of significance, Lifis' lockpick, the fire sword, Leif's light sword, the chest key, the Hazel and Baldo scrolls, Shiva's killer sword if you manage to take it from him, the armor slayer, the hammer and brave axe, and for the remaining slots, swords or vulneraries that you can spare. Eyvel will have her entire inventory deleted, so after trading her fire sword, stash her gear in the storage building. Othin, Havan, and Ronan will rejoin in between chapters, so store everything they have as well, as you may need some of their items in Chapter 6 when you can access the storage again. Marty can potentially rejoin, but he starts as an enemy unit, so store all of his weapons so he doesn't attack you with them. Finn and Seifi rejoin in Chapter 7 with whatever they have here. Make sure Finn has his lances, a sword, and a vulnerary, and she has her staffs. Dagda and Tanya rejoin in a later Gaiden chapter. They will start ambushed by enemies and far from your location, so make sure Tanya has a bow, Dagda has an iron and hand axe, and they both have at least one full vulnerary. As for the defense ring, if your Leif has still been completely screwed with level ups until now, definitely give it to him. But if you feel confident and or its growth has been good, stash it away so someone later can make good use of it. Once all that is done, capture the throne and prepare for hell. In the next chapter, the beginning of the hardest portion of the game. No joke here.